Good afternoon. My name is Velma Walker, and this is my cultural interview for Global Communications class. I interviewed my neighbor, Leslie. I have lived next to Leslie for about 5 years. She is originally from the Philippines, and she's been here for about 3 years. I remember when she and I first met, she was very quiet, and I was already taking this class, and I put a little bug in her ear about closer to the end of this semester I was going to need to do a cultural interview on her, and she got so nervous and said, I don't know if I can do it on video. And so I found out that I could just interview her and then talk about it, and she was very comfortable with that. So she told me that when she first moved here, one of the biggest issues for her on learning English was some of the slang things we said. It's raining cats and dogs. And she said she really didn't understand that, so she would have to give her husband the side eye and ask him, what does that mean, Kevin? And of course, he would explain to her it just means that it's just raining really hard outside. And I thought that was interesting because she said that they learned English in the Philippines, and they start teaching them English along with their native language. And they learn that in kindergarten. They start learning. It actually becomes a second language, and I find that very interesting since we don't do that to our children here in the United States. However, but her grandmother was an English teacher in the university, which gave her a slight advantage to other teachers. To other children when she was learning English as her second language before she even came to America. She said she still does have a problem. We laughed when she told me that sometimes she's a little delayed on her responses because, in her words, Americans talk fast and with their hands a lot. And I explained to her that's because we're a very low context society and just like to hear ourselves speak. And she said that in the Philippines, they're definitely high context society. And for her family with holiday traditions, they celebrate Christmas and Christmas and New Year's. And they wait till everyone is there. Nobody eats before the whole family gets there. And that those times are very important to them. And she explained to me that food is one of their main means that bonds them together as a family. With their cultural background, she said they're Catholic, and they're very considerate of other people's feelings. They actually are a very collective type of society. Family's very important. They put their family first over their own personal interest, and family often lives together. They're a very work-oriented type of society. They believe in hard work, regardless of what it is that you're doing. And she said when they eat, they always feel like it's rude if you're visiting someone to be the first one to eat or take the last piece of pie or whatever type of food that they're serving at a party. And always, always, they take their shoes off. Not only not to keep from walking dirt into the house, but to show respect for that person's home. And I thought that was strange, being that I always think about that being something that the Chinese do, but obviously it's an Asian type of custom. So we talked a little bit more about what was the hardest part about the English language, and she told me that it was her speaking it, that her accent sometimes got in the way, and it gets really bad when she gets nervous, and that in her words, it doesn't help her that she has to compose the words that she wants to use and then translate everything from her native language into the English language, something that we understand. And that typically gives delayed responses. And she said, so she just tends to stay quiet a lot. And I wonder if that quietness sometimes keeps us from asking questions. Maybe we don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. She did say, though, that she has no problem talking in front of people that make her feel comfortable. And then nudged me a little bit and said, "You've always made me feel comfortable, Jean," which made me feel really good. I try not to be a judgmental person. She, her and her son have a son, her and her husband, Kevin, have a son named Kyle, and Kyle is 3. And I asked her if it was important for her to teach Kyle about their culture and her native language. And she said sometimes she just talks to Kyle in her native language because it's just so much easier to communicate with him that way. And that it's very important for him, in her mind, to learn about her culture, because when he goes back to the Philippines to visit, she said he'll understand customs and why people act the way they do in her country, and he will feel just as connected to them as he does his American family. And I thought that was really neat. In my final question, I asked her how big of a culture shock it was when she moved here, and she told me that she always loved watching American movies when they were in the Philippines. That was something that they always did, and they always dreamed about being in America because, it was beautiful and everybody was beautiful and things were nice and clean. And she said, so she learned about our culture by that, but she said she still feels weird over here when she sees teenagers kissing in front of strangers, and that she still does not understand why here our bathroom stall doors in public don't reach all the way to the floor. She said, how crazy is that? People know your business and what you're doing in the bathroom. It's not that way in the Philippines. Anyways, it was a great interview, and I learned so much from her, and I always thought I was an open-minded person. But after taking your class, I feel like that maybe I should ask more questions and put myself out there more to learn about different cultures. And I'm hoping that that I will continue on after I finish this class. So thank you very much, and I really have enjoyed your class so much. I really have. Thank you, and have a good evening.